to a wonderful start. It's Avatar Jim and Amadeus in his brand new shirt. Tell us a little bit about your brand new shirt there, bud.
Oh yeah, just I'm wearing my Big Al shirt here, as you can see the logo here for BigAl.com, where you can get my premium mix. The link also in the description below in the show box. So yeah, very nice. Had Al McMorty send me this shirt in the mail, so that was very kind of him, and looking forward to rocking it now.
There you go. And it's a nice, very nice color as well. Picks up
Yes,
nicely on the screen there.
I love
Well,
love me some blues, Jim.
there you go. There you go. Well, we got the weekly. Well, let's go back to last night for a minute. It ends up that we get the sixth. Okay, we said five was the record. It's broken. It took less than 24 hours to break it. Um, and that, of course, was last night's game, which I cannot describe how disastrous from both teams the final play was. I mean, it was the most inept coaching on both teams that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, first of all, you had the scramble to get on the field to kick a field goal, and that botched up. But then you had the Bills with 12 guys on the field.
Yeah, it was disappointing, especially when they missed the first field goal, and then you give them the win with the
Right.
retry there. It's just unbelievable by the Bills. I was on the Bills -7 myself, but yeah, that was disappointing. Josh Allen had one of those nights
Yeah.
where I thought the Bills were good enough to win that game and cover the spread if they don't turn
Yeah.
the ball over 4 times. But obviously that was the key parts of the game right there. Josh Allen he's had struggles with turnovers, and
Hmm.
this has been his MO throughout his career. He strings
Hmm.
together a few good games, gets everybody buying in on, okay, well, he's not turning the ball over, and then he has
Yeah.
that one disastrous game where they turn it over 3 to 5 times and just
Right.
can't get anything done.
Well, and then you've got a special teams coach you can't count. You
Yeah,
know,
the worst part of it all, you could still salvage the game at the
yeah.
end.
You've got the game, and you're like, okay, well, we dodged this bullet, and you're like, wait a minute, we had 12 men on the field. It's like, what? It's it was, as I said, it's a comedy of errors at the end of the game, and you sit there and go, you know what? Neither of these teams, should be deserve to be in the playoffs. And frankly, it's quite possible Buffalo keep playing. They can't. They don't have in the AFC. You're not going to have a lot of room for a 6 or 7 loss team. They're at 5 losses right now.
Yeah, especially when the AFC North by itself has
Yeah,
has 4 teams that all have 4 losses or less on
right.
them. So absolutely, Buffalo, there's something wrong with them right now. This was actually a team I did hear a lot of people talking about how they're going to take a step back this year. And
Hmm.
again, it goes back to the turnovers with Josh Allen. It's been a problem that's been cropping up more in his play lately. And yeah, Buffalo, I think it's a team to watch going forward because they're clearly not as dominant this year as they've been in past years. And it might just be the year for the Dolphins to win that division.
Yeah, and sometimes, and you hear it a lot, and sometimes it's a bit cliche, but sometimes it's actually true, and that is teams have windows, right? Windows when you of opportunity when you've got to take advantage. And we've said this for years that how long we've said it for about 4 years now. How long before Buffalo gets to the Super Bowl? How long before they can beat Kansas City and get there? And maybe, just maybe, the thing that is a problem now is that window might have closed because you got to believe that Miami's not going to get bad over the next few years.
Yeah, and it really makes you wonder if losing Brian Dable had a bigger impact on this Bills team than we thought it was going to have last year.
Mhm.
Obviously, it didn't show a lot because they were still, like a 13-win team last season. But
Right.
this turnovers were a big problem last year. Now they were
Mhm.
managing win games, so it was kind of glossed over. But yeah, now you're 5-5, 10 games into the season this year, and the turnovers have been the story of a lot of your losses. So definitely something's going on down in Buffalo.
Right, and they're thin at the defensive back position, which is where they have their biggest problems. And
Yeah.
so, that's something you can't necessarily build on. And one of the things that people forget, and these are 53-man rosters, okay? Every team in the NFL, regardless of how good or bad you are, is going to turn over at least 25% of that roster, okay? You're either going to improve yourself by 25% or you're going to stay same or you're going to get worse. And I believe in the last 2 years that Buffalo, because of the injuries and because of some of the people that were free agents, have not been able to maintain that roster. And that's what, would concern me about what's going on in Miami. And to be fair, um, if the Jets had a quarterback, uh, the Jets would definitely be a much stronger team than Buffalo. So they may be looking in the rearview mirror not only for Miami, they could be looking in the rearview mirror for the Jets.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder what the Jets would have been this season, because if you look at their games, the defense
Mm-hmm.
has been very good, and yeah, as you said, a lot of their losses this year, and we can even go back just to Sunday night, that game against the
Mm-hmm.
Raiders. They were right in that game to the end, but once again, offensive problems is what
Right.
plagued that team. So yeah, you plug Aaron Rodgers into that offense, and as
Mm-hmm.
if he never got injured, and you might be looking at a team with the same record or even a better record than the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm. Are certainly better than Buffalo.
Absolutely, because you got to remember that the Jets gave the Patriots their first win of the season. That's not
Mm-hmm.
happening with Aaron Rodgers in that game. So
No.
definitely, completely different Jets team with a competent quarterback behind them.
Well, and you're not going to, the Jets are averaging about 17 points a game. And you're not going to win the NFL very often just going with 17 points. That's just not going to get it there for you.
Yeah, and if you do find ways to win like that, it's not sustainable. It'll
No.
catch up to you. Same with and we've talked a lot about the Raiders, and
Mm-hmm.
even with the changes they've made, their offense is still struggling. They won those
Mm-hmm.
2 games they won with Antonio Pierce, very low scoring games. They
Right.
struggled to score 20 points in both. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to catch up eventually. As much as the Raiders hype around the new coach right now, they're going to
Mm-hmm.
lose a game, and they're going to lose it badly. And it might be this week, because I think they're on the road and they're a 10-point underdog against, what was it, the Dolphins.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're going to have a rude awakening in that game for sure.
All right. Well, here's CBS's top power rankings for this week. The Eagles on top in the number 1 slot, followed by the Kansas City Chiefs, followed by in the number 3 spot the Lions, number 4 spot the Dallas Cowboys. Our San Francisco 49ers are down in the 5 spot. It's okay. Let them stay there so that people are surprised whenever they're in the Super Bowl. We'll see. The Dolphins are number 6. The Brownies are number 7. That's a bit of a surprise. I guess that's because the Ravens lost this week to them, because the Ravens are number 8. Number 9 is the Seahawks. Number 10, the Jaguars. Number 11, the Texans. The Bengals are 12. And, that's really where we are at this point in time. I mean, we could go down further, but I don't know that it necessarily makes a lot of sense to move down the list. I guess, well, the Vikings are 13, the Steelers are 14. The Vikings ahead of the Steelers in large part because of Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, the Vikings are something else. They've won six straight games now after starting the season 0-4 pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
This and yeah, they've just Kirk Cousins goes down and they just continue to win games.
And they get better.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't think there's a ton of talent, especially with the injury to Justin Jefferson. There's not a ton of talent on this offense right now. So, and the defense is getting better, but the defense was never really, the top half in the NFL to start the season. So
Right.
the Vikings are rounding into shape now, but I think again, I think it's going to catch up with them. I think they're kind of overachieving the way they've been playing lately.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't disagree with that. And, I do think that we're going to find out, what's going on. Um, let's move over for a minute over to the college football side. And tonight, of course, is when they'll let us know the CFP rankings. And those are really the only rankings that matter at this point. The AP really doesn't count for anything. Um, it's factored into the whole thing, but it's really not. Um, it's not the number one situation in that regard. Uh, we now have with this is the projected top four from Dennis Dodd, a good buddy of mine at CBS Sports College Football. He has Georgia in the number one slot. He's got Ohio State in the number two slot. He's got Michigan in the number three slot. And he's subbed out Florida State and put in Washington in the number four spot. And now Dennis, and I spoke to Dennis, and I hope that we can get him on the show here before the end of the college football season. Dennis, Florida State, by the way, is number 5. Oregon's number 6. Texas number 7. Alabama number 8. And Louisville number 9. And number 10 is number 10. For some reason, it's not coming up on my screen. Number 10 is Penn State. So that's their top 10. Obviously, when Michigan State plays Ohio State, that's going to change that dynamic a bit. So one of those two is not going to be in that top 4. Assuming that Washington continues, well, then they'll be there. I would think, though, if, as we said before, if Oregon beats Washington, then you're looking at Washington in that's into the top 4, and it's possible, depending upon how things work out, the way these things seem to be shaking down. It's my certainly Florida State has to win out. If Florida State is a one-loss team in the ACC, then that opens the door for the potential of, say, a one-loss Ohio State or a one-loss Alabama to get into this.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're at the point where, those teams need to run the table. If Florida State runs the table, wins the ACC championship, they should be in the top 4, no questions asked. And same with Washington. If they finish the season undefeated and beat Oregon again in the Pac-12 championship, I think those are your top 4 teams right there. Georgia, assuming they go on to win the SEC championship, and Michigan, I think it'll be over Ohio State. But my point is, you can't have 2 teams from the same conference in the playoffs this year. I don't think it's possible. I think there's too many good teams across the Power 5 conferences where there's enough to have representation, one from each at this point, especially if Florida State, that's the thing. If Florida State and Washington finish undefeated, I think at that point you have to put them in with Georgia and one Big Ten team, whoever wins the Big Ten championship. You cannot put Michigan and Ohio State in there if one of them has a loss, which one of them's going to.
And I agree. I think 100% that you don't. It's just not right to keep whoever wins the Pac-12. Okay, has to be in the Final Four. I mean, it's a fraud otherwise. And I'm saying this, including Florida State. I mean, if Florida State could not beat either of those 2 teams, in my estimation.
Yeah, I agree with you. Even if Oregon went on to win the Pac-12 championship with just the one loss, but they beat, undefeated Washington in that championship, I totally agree with you. I think you have to have the Pac-12 champion because at this point it's going to be Washington or Oregon. You have to have the Pac-12 champion in there because both of those teams I think are better than the two teams coming from the Big Ten. So you can't put both Michigan and Ohio State in the top four, or that's just ridiculous because you have two Pac-12 teams that are similar, if not better.
Well, the other thing to me, and we've talked about this, pretty much all season long, is you can't do this, right? You can't leave out from the top to the bottom the best football conference in college football this year, which is the Pac-12. You're going to penalize the champion of the Pac-12 uh, for having played tougher competition than anybody else.
Yeah, pretty much. And again, that goes back to like you can't have Michigan and Ohio State in there when the strongest team that they would have faced all year was each other plus Penn State. Because
Right.
we already know whoever they're getting in the Big West, which it looks like Iowa at this point,
Mhm.
but Iowa's the best team in the Big Ten West. So you're basically you're not getting a Big Ten. You're not getting a real matchup in the Big Ten championship,
No.
which I think weakens the conference in general. But yeah, definitely you can't be crowning Michigan and Ohio State both in the top four when they didn't really play anybody all year. One of them's going to have the loss to the other, but they're still in the top four because they're so great. But Washington and Oregon have to get penalized. It shouldn't be like that.
No, and look at the bottom half of the Pac-12. I mean, the bottom half of the Pac-12 is still good teams. I mean, Colorado's not a bad team. You've got Arizona State and Washington State and Oregon State. I mean, those are not bad teams.
Yeah.
So, please don't say to me that, they played a tougher schedule. That's crap. They didn't play a tougher schedule. And so, no, I mean, I just don't, it shouldn't happen. And we'll have to see whether these things end up being picked just because it's a popularity contest and not because they're the best teams that are out there.
Oh, it's a popularity contest.
So let's move on. And here's, because this is what we do. It's Ohtani time. And there's been some picks out there as to what's a projected contract going to be like for the top free agents out there. Here's the 10 years, $500 million for Shohei Ohtani. Whoever pulls the trigger on that deal is the guy, basically is the team that gets him. That's what they're saying is going to take to get Shohei Ohtani.
Well, it'll be interesting. I'm just looking at the odds again to see if anything changed from yesterday. The Dodgers were plus 110. Now they're plus 120. So I don't know. I don't really know what to make of that. Not much of a move. You got the Giants plus 750 there. We did talk about how there's 3 Eastern teams in the top 5 running according to Vegas, and then the Angels are actually number 6 at plus 700. So it's a very interesting makeup here. They have the Blue Jays ahead of your Texas Rangers there to get Ohtani, which I don't know why in the hell he would ever want to come to Toronto.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one's not going to happen. But yeah, definitely, they're going to be shelling out a lot for him. Whoever gets him, it's probably going to be whoever shells out the most money.
Well, it's a $500 million. It would be the largest contract in U.S. sports history. The number 2 contract is Yashimoto, who we talked about yesterday as possibly a target of the Mets. He's also a target of the Yankees. He is expected to come up on a deal with 8 years, $220 million.
Wow. But with who?
Either the Yankees, the Mets are the two main contenders. It says at this point. Now, to be fair, this is gonna sound totally ridiculous, but 8 years at $220 million. That wouldn't be a bad deal.
Yeah, especially because it would be his first contract in the
Yeah,
MLB. Yeah,
yeah,
that's it's definitely a pretty penny to make for never never playing a
yeah,
game in the league at all and just
yeah,
coming over from another league.
yeah. Good luck on that one.
Yeah,
Um,
big splash.
we said we were talking yesterday about Cody Bellinger. Okay, here's what they project on Cody. Cody's a 6-year 180. Whoa, that's a lot of money for Cody Bellinger.
Yeah, especially when I know you brought up his defensive problems that you feel he
Mhm.
needs to work on. So definitely that's a lot of money to shell out for him, especially for a team that probably they're signing him because they need him specifically in that role, right?
Mhm.
It's not like when he was on the Dodgers, it's just having an extra bat there, pretty much. But yeah, that's a lot of money for Bellinger. I'm with you. I think he needs to prove it a little more before he signs a contract like that. But we'll see. I guess I'm sure someone will sign him out there.
Yep. Matt Chapman, 5 years, 150.
5 years, and that's from he's a free agent as well.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so he'll be. I could see the Blue Jays coughing that out just because he's played pretty well for the Blue Jays this last year and
Yeah.
the year before that. So I wouldn't be surprised. He's very good on the defensive side. I think he's been a key player for them. So I
Yeah.
don't think the Blue Jays would want to lose him, especially when you shipped your rookie prospect Gabriel Moreno to the Diamondbacks. You shipped Lourdes Gurriel to the Diamondbacks, and you get to see them go play in the World Series in their first year there. I think the front office in Toronto has been making some bad decisions lately, and they definitely Matt Chapman might be a signing that could right the ship a bit.
Yeah. Here's one. My look. The only thing I have with Matt Chapman, and I think that I agree with you. I mean, there's a lot to like about Matt Chapman. He is one of those guys who's got, you know, he's a swing and miss bat. Okay, and you want more contact, but maybe I'm being a little too picky over what he's got. Um,
I agree with you, but to me, it feels like the entire Blue Jays lineup is like that. When they're
okay,
hot, they're hot.
fair.
They're
That's
scoring
fair.
like 15 runs a game. When they're cold, and they
They're
can't
very
like.
cold.
It's not just him. The entire lineup can't seem to get a hit or even string together hits. I remember not this season, but the last year or the season before this one, they had the worst. They had the worst record when where they had the worst batting average with
Hmm.
runners in scoring position. Like that's a big problem. But I'm just saying, specifically with Chapman, he offers something on the defensive side. So I think
Right.
that would be a good signing for them
Hmm.
just because of that aspect. Because, like I said, I'm with you on the consistency, but the whole Blue Jays lineup is like that at this point. It's
Yeah.
very inconsistent.
It's a
So if
very fair
anything,
point.
yeah, if anything, they need to plug that up a bit. They need some consistency. And George Springer was supposed to be that guy, and he has
Hmm.
been that guy. That's why they use him as the leadoff. But that's the problem. Like he'll sling a home run in the first batting position, and then nobody else does anything the rest of the game. Like I've
Hmm.
seen it before. So yeah.
You've seen that movie.
Yeah, I've seen it lots with this Blue Jays team.
Okay.
That's why they underperform every year, and then you get to like the end of the season, like, oh, are they going to slip into a wild card? Nope. And if they do, they're not going anywhere in the playoffs
Not lasting long.
because they burn themselves out by the end of the year. That's just the kind
Yeah.
of team they are.
Okay. Let's say. All right. The deal that seems to be the last one on our list, the fifth guy on our list, is Aaron Nola, 5 years, 150.
Well, I mean, I would think the Phillies would want to re-sign him, considering you said they were focused on starting
Hmm.
pitching this winter, and obviously that's been your guy for the last 2 years. He wasn't great this season, but he performed when it mattered in the
Hmm.
playoffs, right? And I think that was very important because that's two straight playoffs where he performed well, even having a bad regular season. But he didn't have a bad season like last year. He was great during the regular season and the playoffs. So I think Nola is kind of like their ace. I think that's a guy that the Phillies should be re-signing before they start looking to Blake Snell or Lucas Giolito or whoever.
Yeah, the thing that here's the only problem. I think Aaron Nolan is a fine pitcher. Don't get me wrong. Here's my problem on this. I don't believe I would give. I mean, at his age, giving Aaron Nola a 5-year contract is really pushing it. I mean, I'm guessing he's got 2, maybe 3 good years left, and I might be charitable there. A 5-year contract on Aaron Nola's, that's putting him in the 37, 38 range. No, I'm sorry, 39 range. That's um, that's asking a lot.
Yeah, I think it might be one of those things though where you give him the 5 years to get him, right? Because maybe
Yeah.
maybe that's what he wants. He wants that long term security, and
Mhm.
so you give him you give him the deal, but maybe you give him most of the money up front, as you said, like first 2 or 3 seasons, and then if you have to, by the time you get to year 4 or 5, you can chop that contract and just get rid of him if he starts to underperform, obviously due to age. But I mean, we've seen these starters. There's been a few of them that obviously we've seen him go to close to 40 years old. So maybe he has it in him, but we'll
Mhm.
we'll have to see, right?
Well, I mean, Clayton Kershaw is a prime example. Max Scherzer is a prime example. Uh, Baumgartner's a prime example.
Yeah,
I
I think with these guys, if you just limit innings as they get older,
Right.
right? Because as we've talked
Mhm.
about a lot with Scherzer, he's great in those first 2 3 innings, but don't let him get to 4 or 5 now because then he's just unraveling.
Well, yeah, because you know he pitches so many innings during the course of the season, and so by the time you get to the playoffs, his arm's dead. So if you could manage the innings, that wouldn't be bad. The other thing is maybe you give him more money on a shorter contract, so it's not 150 million, but it's a 4-year deal or a 3-year deal at a higher number.
Yeah, definitely could that could be an option for him as well.
Mm. Well, here's we keep harping on it, but for some reason I've gone through the composite mock drafts here, and it seems to be that the Chicago Bears look to their their scouting guys. We're talking about what first round of the NFL draft to the Chicago Bears, and it looks like they're going to take Caleb Williams from USC as their starting quarterback. Now, you just may say, well, didn't they just draft Justin Fields a little while ago? Yes, they did. But evidently, either they don't think Justin is going to be the player they thought and hoped he would be, uh, or they're going to go with two young quarterbacks.
I mean, wouldn't surprise me because they started the season this year with Tyson Bagent as their backup quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of let's getting a nice veteran quarterback to groom our young quarterback and come in as a safety blanket if we need it. Nah, we're gonna have Justin Fields. This is your team, and we're gonna prove it to you by your backup's going to be this rookie at a Division II Shepherd University
Mm-hmm.
who has more wins on the season than Justin Fields, and he
Right.
has played less games. He's only started 4 games, and he's
Mm-hmm.
2-2. Both those wins came at home. But Justin Fields played 6 games and went one and
Yep.
five with the team. So
Mm-hmm.
there you go. Just saying.
Well, they got the New York Giants grabbing Drake May, quarterback out of North Carolina University.
This sounds like Daniel Jones all over again, Jim.
Mhm.
There's so many good quarterbacks, and you decide we're gonna take Drake May #2. Really?
What's a mother to do? I mean, Oshiwana Fasio, um, who is the Penn State um, offensive tackle, is headed to New England according to this mock draft. You know, with all the trouble they have in New England, the first guy you're going to take off the board is an offensive tackle. Might make sense given the offense that they've had this year, but you would hope that that we've all said Mac Jones ain't the guy, and we've said this is a very deep quarterback class. You may want to rethink that and take a quarterback.
Yeah, and you can even see Bill O'Brien doesn't think Mac Jones is the guy at this point, the way he was laying into him in their last game on the sidelines there.
Well, and then we got your Arizona Cardinals trying to find a target for Kyler Murray, and they like Marvin Harrison Jr.
They've drafted a wide receiver every year, and they haven't kept a single one. That's got to be the worst. That if they draft a wide receiver, I might just not be a Cardinals fan anymore, Jim. This draft might be a huge draft for me.
Yeah, it might be a big mess. In fairness, Marvin Harrison Jr. probably is the best wide receiver to come out of college in the past couple of years.
Oh, definitely. It's not a knock against him. It's just that, I can't trust this front office. They've drafted a wide receiver every year for the same reason. We got to give Kyler Murray someone to play with, and they end up cutting the wide receiver every year. And I'm not saying it's going to end up they'll just cut him. But my point is Marvin Harrison will get to the team. He'll realize what's going on in the locker room, how nobody's behind Kyler Murray as a player. And he won't want to play for the Cardinals after his first year there. That's what's happening in this locker room. This is a toxic locker room filled with players who don't support the quarterback. That is what's going on in Arizona right now. And I'm telling you, this is going to be a huge draft for me, because if they don't take another quarterback, I might just not be a Cardinals fan anymore. I can't put up with it.
Well, we'll see. By the way, they have I'm just kind of skipping around here. They've got Tennessee has my favorite name in all of college football, maybe in all of college, in all of sports. Kool-Aid McKinstry, the cornerback out of Alabama, going to Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I mean, they just traded away, their best safety, Kevin Byard. So it doesn't surprise me at all that they're drafting defensive backs.
Yeah, they got Brock Bowers, who is the big stud tight end out of Georgia, going to Washington, to the Commanders. That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see who's coaching that team next year.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors to Tampa Bay. Malik, of course, LSU wide receiver, outstanding player. I'm trying to scroll down here and find the next quarterback. Where's the next quarterback? Jaden Daniels going to Las Vegas, according to this mock draft. LSU's quarterback. I mean, he's a good athlete. He's a Lamar Jackson kind of guy, and he's the guy. I mean, he's a hell of an athlete. There's no question about that. And he's got a good arm. He can throw. Would be a bad idea, but I don't know. I don't know if he fits Vegas. I don't know.
Where do they got Penix and Nix going? That's what I really want to know.
I'm scrolling down here.
Unless what, they don't have him in the draft because they're not sure if they're gonna
Well, they got Penix.
declare for the draft. 9 years. They need a ninth season in college football.
Now they got Penix going to New Orleans.
Really?
And that would be the 20th pick of the draft to New Orleans.
You got to think it's probably his injury history that's dropping his draft capital, I would think.
Yeah, but there's other guys. It's out there. I'm going down. I'm trying to find another quarterback, and no, I'm going first round trying to find another quarterback, and I haven't found one yet. Hang on, let's go down. Nope, they don't have one in the first round. So they had Caleb, but no, they don't have one going. So we'll have to see what goes.
No Bo Nix, really?
No Bo Nix.
Which is interesting because he's the favorite to win the Heisman as of right now. He's minus 110, so he very well might be your Heisman Trophy winner this year.
Heisman Trophy winning quarterbacks have been really hit and miss. More miss actually than hit.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Caleb Williams is a great example. Just from the year that he had last year to the year this year, obviously you can chalk a lot of that up to their defense not being good. But I mean, that doesn't affect the Heisman. That he should have been performing, and he struggled against some defenses. Obviously, I think Baker Mayfield, he hasn't been great. Obviously, Bryce Young. Really, out of all the rookie quarterbacks this year in the NFL, he's struggled the most. So definitely, the last few years, there's been some Heisman Trophy winners that have not performed well. But feels like the Cleveland Browns were taking a Heisman Trophy winner every year. So can you really chalk that up? Maybe you just chalk that up to the Browns as of late.
You could. I think one of the things that people forget, you rate a quarterback in college a different way than you rate a quarterback in the pros. And I think, was it you? I think you brought this up, in a show a couple of days ago about the importance of being able to pass before you in the NFL. You need to be an accurate passer who can run, as opposed to a running quarterback who can, needs to work on their passing. And that was something that when we saw Lamar Jackson come into the league and Cam Newton come into the league and Tim Tebow and some of the other guys who came into the league, who had played in these run pass option offenses, RG3 is another one, that were phenomenal in college because the run pass option works there. The problem in the NFL is that the guys you're playing the run pass option against are much faster and much bigger. So that run pass option offense doesn't necessarily always work. So you need to be able to throw the ball. And that's a problem for some of these quarterbacks. Jaden Darden, there's no doubt that he's a phenomenal player, but whether he's an NFL quarterback or not, who knows?
Yeah, well, it'll be an interesting. I definitely expect to see more quarterbacks in the draft, but we'll find out as we get closer, I guess.
Yeah,
because we don't know, right? That maybe the Bears decide they don't need a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
According to Eberflus, they're still evaluating, so. Like we'll see. Eberflus might not be the coach next year, right? Maybe the Bears. True. Maybe that's why they think they want to draft a quarterback because they're going to fire Eberflus. They're done with Justin Fields, and maybe they just hire a new guy, draft your guy, or maybe they decide we're going to keep Eberflus. Fields is our guy. We don't need the quarterback, so it'll be interesting. Definitely a lot of stuff to watch.
Absolutely. Speaking of stuff to watch tonight. What shall we be watching for you, sir, on your picks.
Yeah, make sure you check out my premium plays at bigal.com here, pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. All of those links are in the description below. I have a 2 college football up for the action tonight, coming off a nice 3-0 Saturday, so looking to extend my run there. Got 1 play up in the NBA, cashed with the Sacramento Kings last night, and I got 4 plays up for college basketball, including my non-conference game of the month that you can get. I'm on a 9-1 run after another winning day in college basketball yesterday. So make sure you go check that out. I'm getting very hot across multiple sports now.
There you go. Well done, you. Okay. Well, for Amadeus, I'm Jim. We've had a fun time. Hope that you've had fun too. We'll be back here tomorrow at 2 o'clock for the Wednesday show. And maybe we'll take a quick look at some college basketball and some of the things that's going on to give our buddy Amadeus an opportunity here to weigh in on what's going on early season in college basketball. Till then, see you tomorrow, guys. Have a nice day.